There exists a law older than currency itself, whispered through ages yet absent from every classroom, every textbook, every carefully constructed lesson about success. We sat in rows and learned to calculate, to compete, to accumulate, but no one spoke of the ancient rhythm that moves wealth through the world like breath through lungs. This law requires no degree to understand, no privilege to access. It lives in the space between heartbeats, in the moment before a decision, in the quality of your inner silence. The sages knew it, the mystics lived it, and somehow, in our modern rush toward more, we forgot that true abundance often flows not only to the giver, but through the giver. What if everything you learned about prosperity was only half the story? What if the missing piece was so simple, so elegantly obvious, that it hid in plain sight, waiting not to be discovered, but remembered? Consider how we were trained. Work hard, save more, protect what's yours, climb higher than your neighbor. Admirable advice, perhaps, but incomplete. Something essential was left out, something that cannot be taught in the language of competition and scarcity. The forgotten law speaks a different tongue entirely. It whispers of circulation rather than accumulation, of generosity rather than grasping, of an abundance that multiplies precisely when shared. This isn't the language of business schools or financial advisors. It's older, deeper, truer, the kind of knowing that lives in your bones before your mind can make sense of it. And yet here we are, generation after generation, chasing wealth through methods that often leave us emptier the more we gain. We've mastered the mechanics of money but lost touch with its mystery. We understand transactions but have forgotten transformation. The time has come to remember what was always true, what was never really forgotten but simply covered over by louder, more insistent voices telling us that more is never enough. Watch a river long enough and you'll notice something remarkable. It gives endlessly, yet never runs dry. It doesn't hoard water in fear of drought. It doesn't calculate whether the ocean deserves its offering. It simply flows, and in flowing, it receives from 1,000 tributaries upstream. You are that river. Your life is that current. And wealth, true wealth, operates by the same eternal principle. Circulation. The moment you dam the flow, afraid to let resources move through you, you create stagnation. The water grows murky, life grows heavy. What was meant to nourish begins to decay. Ancient wisdom traditions understood this deeply. The Sanskrit word, dana, means giving, but it also implies a sacred exchange, a recognition that in giving, you acknowledge abundance. You declare to the universe, I have enough to share, and the universe, in its mysterious way, tends to prove you right. This isn't magic thinking. It's the recognition of a pattern woven into reality itself. Energy must move. Love must be expressed. Resources thrive in flow. And you, standing in that current, must choose. Will you be a dam or a channel? Will you be the place where abundance stops, or the place through which it flows? Think of the wealthiest people you know, not just in money, but in life, in joy, in connection. Notice how they tend to give freely. They share ideas, resources, time, attention. They don't operate from a mentality of lack, constantly calculating who owes them what. They understand intuitively what the river demonstrates. The way to stay full is to keep flowing. Conversely, observe those trapped in scarcity. They grip tightly to what little they have, afraid that any giving will leave them with less. And tragically, they're often right. Not because giving depletes, but because their very grasping creates the poverty they fear. They've stopped the flow. They've become stagnant pools rather than living streams. The forgotten law reveals this. You cannot receive with clenched fists, and you cannot truly give while drowning in fear. The river teaches what no classroom ever did, that giving and receiving are not opposites but two movements of the same sacred circulation. There's a peculiar mathematics to the heart that defies logic. The more you give, the more you have to give. Try to explain this to someone gripping tightly to what they have, and they'll think you naive. Yet those who've loosened their grip know the secret. Empty hands can receive. Clenched fists protect, and yes, but they also imprison. They hold yesterday's coins while tomorrow's opportunities slip past unnoticed. The wealthy in spirit walk through life with open palms, not because they're careless, but because they trust the flow. They understand that generosity isn't spending from what you have left. It's investing in the law that ensures there will always be more. This isn't about recklessness or foolish giving. It's about recognizing that scarcity is often a prison we build in our minds, while abundance is a door we open with our actions. Every act of genuine generosity, whether of money, time, attention, or love, sends a signal deeper than words. I believe in plenty. And belief, sustained and acted upon, has a curious way of reshaping reality, not through supernatural intervention, but through the practical mechanics of how consciousness shapes behavior, how behavior creates patterns, and how patterns determine outcomes. When you act as if abundance is real, you make different choices, you see different possibilities, you attract different relationships. Consider the paradox. The person who believes in scarcity will hoard every dollar, every opportunity, every moment of attention. And in that hoarding, they create the very poverty they feared. They miss the investment opportunity because they couldn't risk the capital. They lose the relationship because they couldn't give freely without calculating return. They live small because they were afraid of having less. But the person who believes in abundance, they give the seed to the ground, trusting in harvest. They invest in others, knowing that rising tides lift all boats. They share their knowledge, their resources, their time, not from a place of sacrifice, but from genuine overflow. And somehow, mysteriously, they never seem to run out, not only because of luck or privilege, but because they understand what the closed fist never can, that empty hands are not a sign of poverty, but a prerequisite for receiving. You cannot grasp the new while clutching the old. You cannot receive tomorrow's blessings with hands full of yesterday's fears. Before you can give freely, you must see clearly what you already have. Gratitude is the lens that reveals hidden wealth, the richness of a moment, the value of a connection, the miracle of simply being alive and aware. The ancient alchemists searched for a substance that could turn lead into gold. They never found it in their furnaces because they were looking in the wrong place. Gratitude is that philosopher's stone, transforming ordinary moments into treasure, lack into abundance, bitterness into sweetness. When you truly appreciate what flows through your life, not in a forced, performative way, but as a genuine recognition of grace, something shifts. You stop feeling poor in the middle of plenty. You stop waiting for enough to arrive someday. You realize enough is already here, has always been here, and your work is simply to notice. From that noticing comes natural generosity. You can't feel genuinely grateful and simultaneously grasp at scarcity. Gratitude opens the fist. It softens the heart. It reminds you that you've been provided for again and again, and from that remembering, giving becomes not a sacrifice but a celebration. But here's what makes gratitude truly alchemical. It doesn't just change your perception of what you have, it actually increases your capacity to receive more. When you appreciate what's present, you send a signal to yourself and to the world that you're capable of recognizing value, of honoring gifts, of being a good steward of what flows through your life. Think about it practically. If you gave someone a gift and they barely noticed, complained it wasn't enough, or immediately forgot about it, would you be eager to give them more? But if they received it with genuine appreciation, if they valued it, used it well, and expressed authentic gratitude, wouldn't you naturally want to give them more? People and systems tend to respond in similar ways, not because there's a cosmic scorekeeper, but because gratitude creates an internal state that's conducive to receiving. The ungrateful person walks through life blind to blessings, always focused on what's missing. They could be surrounded by treasure and feel impoverished, but the grateful person recognizes the extraordinary in the ordinary, the miracle of another breath, another day, another chance. They feel wealthy because they see clearly, and from that inner sense of wealth, giving becomes inevitable, natural, joyful. This is the alchemy. Gratitude transforms your inner lead into gold, and that inner gold radiates outward, attracting more of what you've learned to value. We keep such careful accounts of what others owe us, what we've sacrificed, what we deserve. But there's another ledger, invisible yet infinitely more powerful, the balance sheet of your own soul. Every act of kindness unbalanced by expectation makes a deposit. Every moment of forgiveness, every choice to give when you could have withheld, every time you prioritize connection over compensation, these are the real assets, the wealth that accumulates in dimensions beyond banks and portfolios. This inner abundance becomes the foundation of outer prosperity, not through mystical mechanics, but through transformation of character. When you're wealthy within, you make different choices, you see different opportunities, you attract different relationships. You move through the world with a frequency that resonates with abundance rather than lack. The person who feels poor will hoard, hide, and miss the very chances that could enrich them. The person who feels abundant will share, explore, and somehow find themselves perpetually supplied. It's not that the universe plays favorites, it's that we become what we practice. Your inner ledger tracks things no accountant would recognize. The generosity you offered when no one was watching. The integrity you maintained when cutting corners would have been easier. The compassion you extended when judgment would have felt more satisfying. These deposits compound in ways that confound linear logic. Here's the mystery. A person with a positive inner ledger walks differently through the world. They carry themselves with a quiet confidence that isn't arrogance but rather a deep knowing of their own value. They've given when they could have taken. They've lifted when they could have stepped over. They've built when they could have destroyed. And that inner knowing becomes the foundation of everything else. Other people sense it, though they may not consciously recognize what they're sensing. Opportunities flow toward those who feel worthy of them. Partnerships form with those who demonstrate trustworthiness. Abundance gravitates toward those who've proven they can steward it well, not because of supernatural forces, but because humans are exquisitely attuned to character, to integrity, to the quality of presence that comes from a soul at peace with itself. So tend to your inner ledger with more care than you tend to your bank balance. Make deposits through acts of unexpected kindness. Compound your wealth through choices that honor your deepest values. Build reserves of integrity that will sustain you through every external fluctuation. This is the wealth that cannot be stolen, that doesn't depend on markets or circumstances, that grows richer with every passing year if you feed it with right action. Money is just crystallized energy, a stored form of human attention, time, and life force. When you give money, you're giving a piece of your life, made tangible. And when you give it with love, with intention, with a genuine wish for another's flourishing, you're doing something profound. You're declaring that life energy is meant to circulate, not stagnate. Notice how it feels when you give grudgingly versus when you give joyfully. The same amount leaves your hand, but the inner experience is entirely different. One depletes you, the other energizes you. This isn't mysticism. It's the simple truth that your inner state shapes your reality more than the external transaction ever could. The forgotten law whispers, tend to the quality of your giving more than the quantity. $1 given with genuine care carries more transformative power than 1,000 given for show, for guilt, or for tax benefits. The universe, or life, or God, or whatever name you give to the intelligence behind things, seems to respond not to the size of the gift, but to the size of the heart behind it. Think of your life energy as a currency more precious than any paper money. You exchange it every day, for work, for relationships, for activities and commitments. Every hour you live, you're spending irreplaceable life force. The question isn't whether you'll spend it, but how wisely you'll invest it. When you give energy freely and consciously, whether as money, time, attention, or presence, you're engaging in the most sacred form of economy. You're saying, this life force matters, and I choose to direct it toward what I value. You're participating consciously in the great exchange, rather than being unconsciously drained by 1,000 small leaks and unintentional losses. The person who hoards their energy, afraid to give, becomes stagnant. Their life force pools and grows stale, like water that doesn't flow. They feel heavy, tired, depleted, not from giving too much, but from giving too little. Energy needs expression. It needs outlet. It needs circulation. When you dam it up, you don't preserve it, you poison it. But the person who gives energy generously, who invests their attention fully in conversations, who contributes their time to meaningful work, who shares their resources to support what matters, discovers a paradox. The more they give, the more alive they feel. Not depleted, but energized. Not emptied, but filled. Because giving energy consciously is how you generate more of it. This is the economy that underlies all others. The circulation of life force itself. Master this, and money becomes easy. Neglect it, and no amount of money will make you feel wealthy. Your energy is your true capital. Invest it wisely, share it generously, and watch as abundance flows back in forms you never imagined. There's a reason the great spiritual traditions speak of inner peace as treasure beyond measure. Harmony within yourself creates harmony with the world, and harmony is the condition in which abundance naturally flourishes. When you're at war with yourself, torn by guilt, fractured by contradictions, exhausted by internal conflict, you leak energy constantly. Your capacity to receive diminishes because you're spending all your resources managing inner chaos. But when you find alignment, when your values and actions begin to match, when you make peace with your past and presence with your now, something remarkable happens. You become efficient. Life energy stops draining away and starts accumulating. From this foundation of inner harmony, giving becomes effortless. You're not giving from depletion, trying to prove something or fix something within yourself. You're giving from overflow, because peace is naturally generous. It doesn't need to protect or defend. It doesn't measure or compare. It simply expresses its own abundance. This is why the truly wealthy in spirit often own little yet lack nothing. They've discovered the source, not in accumulation, but in alignment. Their inner world is coherent, integrated, at peace with itself. And from that coherence flows a natural prosperity that confounds those still seeking wealth through external means alone. Consider what harmony actually means. All parts of you moving in the same direction, rather than different parts pulling different ways. Your mind, your heart, your words, your actions, all aligned, all expressing the same truth. When you achieve this, even partially, you stop wasting vast amounts of energy on internal friction. The person living in disharmony says one thing and does another. They value integrity, but act dishonestly when convenient. They claim to prioritize family, but invest all their energy in work. They want peace but nurture resentment. The conflict between stated values and actual choices creates a constant drain, a background noise of guilt and rationalization that exhausts them even when they're not aware of it. But imagine living from harmony. Your words match your thoughts. Your actions express your values. You say what you mean and do what you say. There's no energy wasted on maintaining contradictions. No mental effort spent justifying choices that violate your own standards. Everything flows in the same direction, like a river without obstacles. From this state, abundance comes naturally. You have energy to give because you're not bleeding it away internally. You see opportunities clearly because you're not looking through a fog of inner conflict. You attract the right people and circumstances because you're emitting a clear signal rather than contradictory static. Harmony is the hidden multiplier that makes all other efforts more effective. With it, small actions yield large results. Without it, even tremendous effort produces little fruit. This is the wealth they never taught you to seek, the integration of your inner world, the peace that comes from living in alignment with your deepest truth. Here's where the forgotten law asks something radical of you. Trust before proof. Give before having. Love before deserving. This goes against everything we're taught about security, about smart planning, about protecting ourselves from a dangerous world. Yet every person who's experienced real abundance, not just material wealth but the fullness of a life well lived, speaks of this leap. At some point, they chose to trust the flow rather than control it. They gave when it didn't make logical sense. They helped when they themselves needed help. They acted as if abundance were real before they had evidence. And somehow, Mysteriously, evidence arrived, not always in the form expected, not always on the timeline demanded, but in ways that, in looking back, feel almost orchestrated, as if life itself conspires to support those who believe in its generosity. This isn't about ignoring practicality or abandoning responsibility. It's about recognizing that beyond your careful planning, beyond your anxious controlling, there's an intelligence operating that you can either resist or ride. Trust is the door that opens to it. What does it mean to trust before proof? It means giving when your budget says you can't afford it, not recklessly, but listening to a deeper knowing. It means offering help when you're barely holding together yourself, trusting that the energy you give will somehow return. It means investing in relationships and opportunities without guaranteed outcomes, acting on faith rather than certainty. This requires courage because it feels like stepping into emptiness. Every voice of conventional wisdom screams, wait until you're secure, save until you're safe, protect what little you have. And those voices aren't entirely wrong. They're just incomplete. They see the danger of giving too much but miss the greater danger of giving too little, of living so cautiously that you never discover what might have been. The forgotten law asks you to notice. What has your caution really bought you? Have your careful protections created the abundance you seek? Or have they built walls that keep out opportunity as effectively as they keep out risk? There's a kind of poverty that comes from too much safety, a starvation that comes from refusing to feast until every future meal is guaranteed. Trust is the willingness to participate fully in life even without guarantees, to give even when you're not sure you'll receive, to love even when you might be hurt, to invest your energy, your resources, your very life into what matters, accepting that the outcome lies beyond your control. This is terrifying and liberating in equal measure. But here's what makes trust possible. You're not actually trusting in some external force to save you. You're trusting in the law itself, the principle that giving creates space for receiving, that generosity generates its own returns, that living openly attracts more than living closed. You're trusting patterns you've glimpsed, principles that whisper truth even when circumstances seem to contradict them. No one becomes truly wealthy alone. Wealth, in all its forms, it is relational. It flows through connections, through communities, through networks of mutual support and shared abundance. When you give generously, you're not just helping one person. You're adding momentum to a current that lifts everyone. The person you help helps another. The business you support employs families. The kindness you show ripples outward in ways you'll never fully trace. You become part of a circulatory system larger than yourself. This is the forgotten law's greatest promise. You don't have to carry the burden of your own prosperity alone. When you give freely and receive gracefully, you enter a web of reciprocity that transcends individual transaction. You become part of an ecosystem of abundance, where everyone's thriving supports everyone else's. The fear that, if I give, there won't be enough for me, reveals a belief in separation, the illusion that your wealth and another's are in competition. But the law teaches otherwise. In a connected system, lifting others lifts you. Their abundance doesn't diminish yours. It creates conditions for yours to flourish. Think of a thriving marketplace. Every merchant's success supports every other's. When one shop does well, it brings more people to the area, which benefits everyone. When customers have more money to spend, all vendors prosper. The rising tide truly does lift all boats, but only if you're in the water, participating in the circulation rather than watching from the shore. You are part of a vast, invisible network of exchange. Everything you've ever received came through other people. Every opportunity, every dollar, every moment of support or encouragement, someone else made it possible. And everything you'll receive in the future will also come through connection, through relationship, through your participation in the community of circulation. This means your wealth is never really yours alone. It flows to you through the network and flows from you back into the network. You're a node in a system, a channel in a current. The more consciously you participate in this circulation, giving generously, receiving gracefully, connecting people, sharing resources, supporting thriving, the more wealth flows through you. Isolation is poverty. regardless of your bank balance. The wealthy person who trusts no one, shares nothing, connects with no one, is desperately poor. But the person who's woven into a community of mutual care and shared abundance is wealthy beyond measure, even if their material resources are modest. So tend to your connections. Invest in your community. Give not just to individuals, but to the circulation itself. Support systems that support thriving. Create conditions where more people can participate in abundance. Because in doing so, you're not sacrificing your own prosperity, you're ensuring it. You're building the very network through which your own abundance will flow back to you, multiplied by every connection, amplified by every exchange. So here you stand, at the threshold of a different way of being. The forgotten law isn't asking you to give away everything tomorrow or leap into recklessness. It's inviting you into a practice, a gradual unfolding, a daily choosing of openness over closure, generosity over hoarding, trust over fear. Start small. Give something today. Money, time, attention, forgiveness, without expecting return. Notice how it feels. Notice what shifts inside you. This is the laboratory of your own life, and you're the only one who can run the experiment. Watch what happens when you express gratitude, not as a technique, but as a genuine acknowledgement of what's present. See how your inner harmony affects your outer circumstances. Pay attention to the mysterious ways that giving creates space for receiving. The law works whether you believe it or not, but your belief accelerates its manifestation. Your trust opens channels that fear keeps closed. Your generosity declares to all of existence, I am abundant, I am provided for, I am part of the flow. This isn't the end of understanding, but the beginning of practice. The forgotten law isn't learned through study but through living, through the daily choice to be someone through whom wealth flows, rather than someone in whom it stops. You've remembered something ancient and true today. Now comes the more important work, living as if you believe it, giving as if abundance is real, trusting as if the universe is friendly, moving through your days as someone who knows the secret. The way to wealth is through generosity, the path to abundance is through gratitude, and the door to prosperity is opened from the inside. Each day presents new opportunities to practice. That person who needs help, will you give it? That moment when you could hoard or share, which will you choose? That instant when fear says protect yourself, and love says reach out, which voice will you honor? These small choices, repeated over time, create the pattern of your life. They determine whether you become a dam or a channel, a closed system or an open flow. And here's the beautiful truth. You don't have to do this perfectly. The law isn't waiting for you to achieve some impossible standard before it begins working. Every small act of generosity counts. Every moment of gratitude shifts something. Every choice to trust rather than contract opens a door. You're not trying to become something you're not. You're remembering what you've always been, part of an abundant universe, capable of both giving and receiving, designed for flow rather than stagnation. The transformation happens slowly, then suddenly, you give a little more freely and life responds. You trust a little more deeply, and doors open. You practice gratitude more consistently, and your whole experience of reality shifts. One day you look back and realize you're living in an entirely different relationship with wealth, with abundance, with life itself. Not because you learned some trick or manipulated some system, but because you aligned yourself with a law that was always operating, waiting only for your participation. If this truth awakens something within you, don't stop here. Your transformation has only begun.